75 years of basketball history, 75 players to pick. Was it fair? Or never thought about it? We at Dishing Dimes remember some names that could fit this cut. How about the towering 7-foot phenomenon from Spain? Or cast your thoughts to the scoring virtuoso, T-Mac. These are just a couple of the names we'll be tossing into the mix. Let's find out whether the NBA's 75th best all-time players list might have had a few crucial omissions. Hello, fam. We're here once again to dish out some light on a not-so-old subject. If you vibe with this dime of ours, slam that subscribe button and ring the notification bell. You gotta know when the videos drop. So what do we got for you? We got an investigation on who got snubbed. So tell us what you think, drop a dime in the comments, and give us your take on this matter. And don't feel offended if we have a different opinion. So how do we do this? How do we even start choosing? Go from the best down till the count is over? Preference of stats, championships, MVPs? We don't know exactly the better way, but we know one thing for sure. What the media and the NBA did doesn't feel like the best decision. 25 years before, in the NBA 50th birthday, there was a similar list dropped. The top 50 players list. So how did they start the top 75 list, you ask? By copying the top 50. So, you're telling us that in the last 25 years, we could only choose 25 players? In an era of basketball completely transformed by improvement in shooting, dribbling, science, tactics, and so on? Now that's some bull. What? It would be disrespectful to some player who made the top 50 list to not make the top 75? Why is that? Why not a full redo this time? Things evolve. Basketball evolved. Players evolved. That's the nature of everything. We make the tracks so our descendants can ride in them. To make it even worse, in these 25 new spots to pick, it ended up being 26 because, yes, the top 75 list is made of 76 players. In these new spots, they had the nerve to occupy 4 of them with players that could have made the top 50 list and didn't. Bob McAdoo drafted in 1972, Dominique Wilkins drafted in 1982, Dennis Rodman drafted in 1986, and Reggie Miller drafted in 1987. Even this last one played a big part of his career before the top 50 was made. But let's carry on. Don't get us wrong. Most of the list is correct and pretty obvious, we might say. Let's take this from decades of drafts, shall we? Here are the ones we believe are obvious. In this mix, we've got the obvious names like MJ and LeBron, alongside players who might not have clinched a championship, but left an indelible mark on the game. Take Melo, for instance, whose scoring prowess resonates, and Barkley, renowned for his dominant rebounding skills. In this list, we already have 45 players. All of these might be unquestionable. We are saying things that are obvious and unquestionable. You might be asking yourself, in what base are these dudes affirming this? Let's explain. There are a lot of metrics and indicators you can pick from, like championships, MVPs, scoring average, and so on. But you also have to contemplate other things: scoring prowess, skills, innovation, dominance in their era, leadership skills, and even ability to change the game. We will see that each of the players that we mentioned before enter in one or more metrics. Some of them even dominate it. Also, bear in mind that all of this analysis of each player is based on what he did till 2021, when the top 75 list was made. Now let's check the metric one by one. We kick off by examining those gleaming achievements: championship rings, regular season MVP awards, and finals MVP accolades. The frontrunners for these benchmarks are evident, beginning with the astonishing 11 rings owned by Bill Russell. Don't know how those guys managed to win so much gold, but let's move on. Kareem's collection of 6 MVP awards firmly places him in the top spot for consistent excellence during the regular season, while Jordan's dominance shines through with an impressive tally of 6 finals MVP honors on the grandest stage of them all. And let's add a special honor for Bill Russell. Even though the era didn't include the Finals MVP award, there's little doubt he would have clinched a couple if it had existed back then. Undoubtedly, these metrics carry significant weight in our evaluation, yet they're not the sole criteria. Moving on, we delve into factors such as a player's scoring average throughout their career, up to at least 2022 when the list was revealed, all NBA selections and All-Star selections. Jordan, often lauded as the epitome of a scoring machine, unsurprisingly claims the foremost rank in scoring average. However, a noteworthy point emerges when we examine his standing in the other two metrics. He doesn't even secure a spot within the top 5. This can be attributed to MJ's comparatively shorter NBA career spanning 15 seasons. Shout out as well to Kevin Durant with his 27 average career points, indeed a 7-foot monster. We checked the physical aspects, delved into the statistical realm, and now we're set to factor in an additional dimension: opinion-based metrics, our very own assessment. When it comes to dominance, the towering presence of Shaq and the rim-shattering force of Wilt cannot be overlooked. Scoring prowess, well, let's just say we've already covered the most obvious contender. Leadership follows suit. Similarly, the spotlight on skills is captured by none other than AI, who effortlessly steps over defenders with his mesmerizing crossovers. We also consider innovation and the ability to reshape the game. Collectively, these layers of evaluation lead us to believe that we're inching closer to assembling a list of the near-perfect 75 best players of all time. While perfection might remain elusive, our analysis pinpoints 5 individuals who certainly deserve a spot based on these diverse metrics. Let's start talking about the players we believe should have made the cut, but didn't. Don't forget, our opinion is based upon the metrics by the time the list was made. Also, take into account that if we think someone should get in, someone has to get out. When it makes sense, we will try to trade a guard from a guard and so on. The metrics also depend on the player. Sometimes a player might have not so high numbers and stats and individual accolades, but at the same time you can say something like, that team wouldn't win if it wasn't for him. And picking up this point, let's go to the first snub. The word dynasty is not thrown out that much, but the Golden State Warriors starting in 2014 to 2015 became that, a dynasty. And we all can bet our pinky that it wouldn't happen without Klay Thompson. You can say what you want about him, that he has limitations in terms of dribbling or playmaking, but you can put this in stone. If it weren't for his teammate, he'd probably be considered the best shooter to ever play the game, or at least he would be in the conversation. He's only a 5-time All-Star, but he was a 3-time NBA champion already, going on the 4th after recovering 2 major injuries. Oh, and he also did this. Record for most three-pointers in a regular season game, 14 threes. Record for most points in a quarter, 37 points. Only player with multiple 12+ threes games in a single season. In 2016, he scored 60 points in 29 minutes of play. He even gained a nickname, Game 6 Klay. That demonstrates an ability to take your game to the next level when it counts the most. The Golden State Warriors have the best shooting backcourt to ever play the game, and Klay Thompson is 50% of that. So, who would we cut? Tell me, do you sincerely believe that Earl the Pearl Monroe was better than Klay Thompson? Monroe had the dazzled and slick moves, but Klay has better percentages, more titles, and impact on those titles. So with all due respect, it would be Earl Monroe out, Klay Thompson in. Next up, we've got the Superman, Dwight Howard. Excluding Howard from this list is a decision that borders on criminal. It's a head-scratcher, an omission that simply defies reason. Sure, Dwight Howard's career has been a roller coaster of perplexing twists and turns. He hasn't exactly been the darling of everyone, racking up his fair share of eye-rolling moments and enduring his time under the spotlight of Shaq and Kobe Bryant's ridicule. But let's talk straight facts. There was a time, a glorious stretch, when Dwight was standing tall among the top echelons of basketball greatness. Don't believe it? Just look at the accolades he's garnered. 3-time Defensive Player of the Year. An appearance in the NBA Finals where the stakes couldn't have been higher. And yes, he eventually clinched that elusive championship ring. The man's got a trophy case that could give anyone a case of envy. Leaving Dwight Howard off this list is doing a disservice to his undeniable impact on the game. So while opinions might waver, the stats and achievements don't lie. Dwight Howard may not be everyone's MVP, but his legacy is etched in hardwood history. Look at these numbers. How does Anthony Davis enter the top 5 list and Howard doesn't? Calm down, Laker fans. We are saying that both should have made the list. In this case, we have to say that we don't believe that Nate Thurmond is a better basketball player than Dwight Howard, and he would be cut. Both players are some of what's similar two buffed centers with focus on both ends of the court. But Howard wins with his achievements and accolades. Now, for our third snub, we have the Spanish Tower Pau Gasol. The unsung hero stood as the undisputed second pillar on those Lakers squads of the 2010s, which marched their way to 3 consecutive finals appearances. His brilliance was a quiet thunder that resonated on the court, even if recognition didn't always shine as brightly. Back in those days, Gasol was like a gem hidden in plain sight, underappreciated and underestimated. Yet his on-court performance did the talking, and boy did it speak volumes. 6 All-Star nods and 4 All-NBA selections, all snugly tucked into his accolade chest, flanked by the twin glinting jewels of championship rings he earned in the City of Angels. Now that's a legacy that echoes beyond the hardwood. Pau Gasol's influence was a tidal wave, washing over the game in ways that stats alone can't fathom. As the Lakers danced on the grandest stage of them all, he was the rhythm beneath their steps. In a symphony of stars, Gasol was the harmony that made the melody whole. Now let's have a little fun with this. All of his career, maybe even his life, Gasol has been called Paul instead of Pau. Maybe that's what happened when they were doing the 75 list. 'Cause Paul Arizin? Really? Is he better than Pau Gasol? Gasol beats in him in almost every stat and has more rings. Most definitely a typo, so Paul in, Paul out. Next up, we've got Tracy McGrady. It's almost instinctual to raise an eyebrow at the mere suggestion of T-Mac gracing this list, but take a moment to observe his resume. I treads like a chapter from the annals of the game's all-time greats. And if only the fates had granted him a healthier trajectory, his legacy would have cast an even bigger shadow. Yes, injuries tested his mettle, but the numbers and honors he accomplished are a testament to his undeniable prowess. 7 All-NBA selections, flanked by an equal number of All-Star appearances, and not to mention those 2 coveted scoring titles. These weren't mere tokens. They were badges of honor meticulously stitched onto the fabric of his basketball journey. Across the league, Tracy McGrady wasn't just a name, he was an embodiment of scoring artistry. His court finesse was akin to a maestro's fingers coaxing melodies from strings. Players and opponents alike marveled at his mastery, a talent that etched itself into the collective memory of the sport. Even the great Kobe Bryant said this.
Who's the toughest guy you ever played against?
Toughest guy I ever played against. So, I mean, there's a lot of guys, but the guy that always gave me the most problems actually was Tracy McGrady.
Tracy McGrady?
Yeah. Tracy McGrady, man. Tracy McGrady with his, he had all the skills and all the athleticism, but he was 6'9", and he was really, really tough to figure out.
Unfortunately for Dave Bing, we believe that McGrady deserved to be on the list more than him. No titles, no MVPs, and the total stats are similar in both players. 18K plus points for both of them. McGrady has more rebounds, Bing has more assists. But his McGrady 7 All-NBA selections to Bing's 3 and his 2-time scoring champion to Bing's 1 puts him one step above. Last but not least, Nikola Jokic. It's kind of obvious that if the list was made after the 2023 finals, Jokic would unquestionably be in the list. But what we are arguing here is that information was there for everyone to see. He already was the player that he is today. He was one of only 2 MVPs who were not included on the 75th anniversary team, the other being Derrick Rose. And that was strictly a result of Jokic's age. He was still only 26 years old, and voters felt he had not had a chance to put together the necessary resume to make the cut. But again, Jokic in 2021 had already attained a level of dominance of the game that is really hard to find. He developed into one of the most unique and gifted offensive players of this era. He plays completely at his own pace, lumbering up the floor like a man without a care in the world. But when he starts running the show for the Nuggets on the offensive end, it doesn't take long to realize he just might be the best passer in the world right now. So who should leave the list? Billy Cunningham is 2-1 to step out for Jokic to get in. Yes, Billy has one ring, and in 2022, Jokic still didn't. But guess what? In Billy's ring, he was the sixth man of the team. Not that is not important, but it wasn't like he was the one leading the gang. And there you have it. With our new additions, we believe that this becomes a more fair list of players. But hey, perfection is an illusion, and achieving the desired 75 best players of all time for everybody, it just won't happen. After all, basketball, like life, thrives on its beautiful diversity. Stay tuned for more content and see you on the next one.